Boomerocity. I got another fun interview for you this episode. It is with a gentleman by the name of Eddie Schwartz. And you may not know him by name, but you certainly know some of the songs that he's been associated with, like The Doctor, that was done by Doobies, Don't Shed a Tear, that was done by several people, and some little song called Hit Me With Your Best Shot. You might have heard of it. I know you have, because that's from the great Pat Benatar. He's the man that wrote that song. And so he's come out with his own EP, and I think you're really, really, really going to love it. And so I'd encourage you to download it, as well as to listen to the rest of this interview. I know sometimes people shut off after 5 minutes for a variety of reasons, but believe me, you're going to want to hear this entire interview. We cover a lot of subjects, not just this album, because his insight's tremendous. So please listen to it in its entirety. And while you're at it, please hit like and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. I'm not going to charge you anything for it. And so it just helps us out here on our end. And please share it with the music lovers in your social circles, in your family, and so on. So without any further ado, here is my first of what I hope won't be my only interview with him, the great Eddie Schwartz. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. Hello, Eddie. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. I'm just was trying to change my video effects, and not sure I know how to do that.
I can tell you, if you go into Zoom Workplace, up on the top, I think left hand, are you on your phone or on the computer?
Yeah, I'm just actually, what I'm trying to do is do that. Just get rid of.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, I know
Cool.
I don't know if I'm bragging too much already, but I just hung those things. They were in a closet for 30 years, and I just put them up.
No
Oh, but
way.
I like your background. That's great.
I'll trade you.
No, well, I'm thrilled. That's really kind of you. Thank you for putting that up. That's great.
Well, it's all about who I interview. So nobody's interested in my bookcases behind me or my signed albums or anything like that. So it's always about who I'm talking to. So you're clicking in from Nashville, right?
Yep, Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, I've spent some time there, not a lot. I worked downtown for back before the pandemic, and then I'm over here in the Smoky Mountains, just a little east of you there. So
Oh yeah, I was going to ask where you are. Are you in Tennessee or are you
yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
I'm just a couple miles up the road from Dollywood. So
Know that area. We've been to Gatlinburg. We took the kids there when they were young. We have a couple of kids. We went skiing in Uber
oh yeah,
Gatlinburg. So
yeah,
it
yeah.
was a lot of fun for them. A lot of fun, fun town.
It's changing all the time. It really is. Right now, and I'll apologize in advance, there's what they call the slammed enough gathering. It's these kids that get these small cars and they make them obnoxiously loud. They put funky paint jobs on them, and they have their tires that just go like that. So I'm sure they're only wearing like a third of the tread on the thing, and probably prematurely, but they're racing up and down the main road down below me here. So if you hear that, my apologies. There's nothing I can do about it though. So
I yeah, loud cars are not my thing. So, but I guess
mine either.
some people, yeah. Well,
Every generation.
Gatlinburg isn't exactly the Louvre in Paris or anything, but
No.
it is a fun place to go and hang out, especially if you got kids. At least when we
Yeah, and
went.
especially if you run into a bear or two, which you want to keep your distance. But somebody just posted yesterday a bear walking right across the main drag there in Gatlinburg.
No
And
kidding.
so,
Wow.
yeah, and I get them up here. I live next door to my dad. I'm his caregiver, and I have security cameras around the place, and we'll pick bears up on the cameras every once in a while. And it's always a kick seeing that. But anyway, well, first of all, thank you for taking the time to join me, and thank you for your contribution to the soundtrack of my life. All the great music you've written, and all that. And I know you've worked with and that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you before we get into this EP of yours. There's a I just did a quick scan of who all has either recorded your songs or you've worked with, and so America, which I did Dan Peake's last interview before he died, and then Lawrence Gowan from up in Canada, and you're from Canada. I want to get to that in a moment. He's with Styx now and does his own solo thing, and then Mountain. And so, did you work with them, or did they just happen to pick up your songs and recorded them?
Are you talking about Mountain in particular, or all of the above?
All the above.
Yeah, I never met America. I don't know those guys. But the other two, Larry Gowan, Lawrence Gowan, and I worked together. We probably wrote almost every day for a number of years,
Wow.
and I ended up producing and writing with him. I think on three different albums, like not the entire album the first time, but then we did a couple of albums more or less together. And I think I wrote not all of the songs, but maybe half or a little more than half. As far as Mountain goes, yes, I was with those guys as well. Upstate New York, we did an album, I guess about an hour and a half north of New York City, right up the Hudson River in
Mm-hmm.
rural Meadowbrook. It'll come back to me, a small town. But
Mm-hmm.
there was an engineer there with an incredible recording studio and an incredible collection of amplifiers. Um, but I don't know if you want to save this for on. I don't know if you're recording now or not, but
Yeah, we're
um,
recording.
oh, we are okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, a large collection of amplifiers, but Leslie West, all he wanted to use was this little thing called a Rockman, which was about this big, which was very popular for about 15 minutes. And we picked the studio because it had the greatest collection of Marshalls and old amps of various kinds that I've ever seen in one place. Because, after all, we're recording Leslie West, who, a premier rock guitar player from,
Mm-hmm.
of his day. And he just wanted to play through this little box because it was a new toy. So yeah, we secretly took a feed off from his guitar. So all he could hear was the Rockman, but we fed it into one of the Marshalls and recorded it at the same time so that
Well,
we could get that.
he was one of after I launched Boomerocity going on 17 years ago. He was one of the first interviews, or one of the interviews of my first year, and I've got a picture of me and him together. He was touring with Hippie Fest, which is now the Happy Together tour, and we were backstage. I had just interviewed him like a week or two before, and my daughter snapped a picture of he and I talking. And I've always cherished that because a couple weeks later, this was in 2009, a couple weeks later, he played the Woodstock anniversary and got married on stage.
No
And
kidding.
yeah, and then I interviewed him a couple times after that. So but yeah, he was quite a guy, quite a character. You never knew which Leslie you were going to get, but he was a great guy a great musician, a great guy to watch on stage, and I would never want to have been on his bad side. That is for sure. So no, you're from
Yeah,
the
no,
you're go
yep.
ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just, yeah, I got to work with him up close for, I think we had 10 days. I think we did the record pretty quickly, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. But
Wow.
everything you said is true.
Which
I'll
album was it
confirm.
you worked with him on?
It was called, I think it was called This Is a Man's World because we did a cover of that. I think that was the name of the
Okay.
album.
Okay,
But at
that
any
sounds
rate,
about
that
right.
was the
Yeah.
song. And then, yeah, he and I and Corky Lang, the drummer,
Hmm.
co-wrote most of the songs on the record. So,
Corky's book was pretty interesting. I interviewed him about that in 2019, 2020, just before the world stopped, and he was a fun guy to talk to. I think he was in his car on his way somewhere, so there's a lot of background noise and all that. But had just come out with a book that involved letters between he and his mom, so that was kind of
hmm,
interesting. But
yeah,
I forget the name of it.
I didn't know that. And, I enjoyed working with Corky a lot. He was, a talented drummer.
Hmm.
And we wrote a few songs. Like I said, we wrote a few songs for other people as well, and then wrote a bunch of songs for Mountains. So yeah, I enjoyed working with him.
So you're from Toronto, huh? Originally?
Yeah, I'm actually my mother was from New York and my father was Canadian. So I'm kind of my growing up was sort of a tale of two cities.
Mm-hmm.
I would spend summers, holidays and summers in visiting my family in New York and then but most of the time was in Toronto, yeah.
Oh, well, I worked for the late great Nortel Networks, all of that. I
Sure.
I had about 20 years with them and had been to Toronto a few times on business for meetings and such. But I miss working for them. They were very good to me, and I just hated to see that demise because they were such a monster in telecommunications, such a rich history, and of course its ties to Alexander Graham Bell and all that. That it broke my heart when it collapsed. But the crown jewel of Canada, they said. But
Yeah, these tech companies, I mean, I don't really know the story, but boy, when they go, they can go very quickly. It's
yeah,
technology
well,
based.
apparently the Chinese had a lot to do with it, a lot of pirating of our IP and such. So anyway, but well, hey, I love this EP of yours, man. It
Oh,
is. I enjoyed very much listening to it, and I hope it goes very, very well for you. I think it will. If it, I mean, you've got the right people to get the word out and such. So I do my part to get the word out. And I was just curious, what inspired the title and the concept of this project? What's the story behind it?
well, listen, thank you very much, Randy, for those kind words. It means a lot to me. And I'm very grateful. And, again, thanks for having me on the program. Um, yeah, I moved to Nashville from Toronto in 97. And I got very quickly into the Nashville writers kind of blind date regime, which
Yeah.
is you write two songs a day. You write from 10 till 1, then you have lunch, and then at 2, you start again either with the same co-writer or another co-writer, and you go from 2 till 5. So you've got 3 hour sessions, and by the end of the week, theoretically, you have 10 new songs. Um, I was used to writing. I mean, there are songs that I am fortunate enough to have written that took 3 years to write. So
Hmm.
I was thrown into an entirely different way of working. I mean, hit me with your best shot. Took years to write, and others, just that I was used to keeping working on it, keeping working on a song until I felt it was right. So this was a whole new world for me, and I did it for years, and I really burnt out on it. I knew I wasn't doing my best work. There are people who can do that, and they're fantastic at it. But
Hmm.
for me, it wasn't my best work. So eventually, I stopped, and I took a few years off. Um, I couldn't quite find my way back to the way that I wrote songs. So I just took a break and I did other things. I did a lot of advocacy for songwriters and composers and that kind of thing. It's always a struggle for us. And so, I did a lot of work trying to support copyright and authors' rights. Um, and then, my family encouraged me to go back, and my, friends who were in the business here in Nashville encouraged me to go back and start writing again. And so I did. And so film school is really um, the first group of songs that I was happy with, that I finished and was happy with after taking that hiatus of it could have been 5 years, 5 or 6 years between
Wow.
stopping the Nashville two-step and coming up with the songs for film school. As
Interesting.
far as the title, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just agreeing with you. Go ahead.
Yeah, the title really came out of the fact that I thought um, there was a few things that tied up this particular group of songs together. One is that they're kind of like little stories or little short movies, short subjects, and
Hmm.
so I felt that kind of tied them together. And I also felt like I had to relearn how to write songs again. So, I was kind of going to school. And
Hmm.
so I just those put those two ideas together, and that's how the title came to me.
vaguely familiar with, always call it the songwriting sweatshops, where you will write two songs a day, and they crack the whip. But it seems like, of all people, Bonnie Bramlett was there trying that out too. She had moved to Nashville from some point, and I think she's retired up in St. Louis now. But when I interviewed her a few years ago, she was telling me the same thing. It's just like, and here's somebody that co-wrote Superstar, and she's putting in the sweatshop as well. And it was hard for her. I mean, for you guys who write these, monster hits, to have to go from the process of doing one of those to the sweatshops, I can imagine that was very, very tough for you to get acclimated and feel good uh, about your output, I would imagine.
No, that's totally true, Randy. I mean, it was true for me. There are, like I said, there are people who are very, very good at it. I mean, I worked with writers who had the opportunity and was fortunate enough to write with some masters at the Nashville, method of writing songs, and they co-write
Hmm.
every day. People don't write alone.
Hmm.
Again, I was used to hit me with your best shot. I wrote by myself. Don't shed a tear. I did have a co-writer, but I did a lot of the work on my own. I mean, that was my process, just banging my head against a brick wall until until I figured it out. So yeah, this writing with possibly, four or five different people over the course of a week, or even sometimes in a day. If you had three writers, you could write with four different people in the same day at almost two sessions. So that was very challenging. On the other hand, I mean, I will say, look, I wrote with Gary LeVox of Rascal Flatts.
Hmm.
Um, got a song on their first album, which did quite well, and it was just a joy to write with Gary. Incredible singer. I mean, you'd come up with a line and he would sing it, and you'd go, oh, just blown away. So there were good parts of it, good moments, good days. Um, but overall, like I think I said earlier, I just knew I wasn't doing my best work. And the thing is, the world doesn't need any more okay songs. There's lots of
Boy, isn't that
those.
true?
And
At
the world,
best.
yeah, exactly. So if you can't bring something to the table to share with people that you really, really believe in your heart, that you put everything you can into it. I mean, I just didn't feel right about not doing that. I'd walk
Yeah.
away from a session going, yeah, it's a good song, but I'd rather work on songs that are better than good, at least
Hmm.
in my humble estimation.
I agree. Now, I'm not trying to drill into your own personal business on this, but at a general level, with these kind of songwriting arrangements, is there another entity that winds up owning the rights to that, and you get paid a one-time thing and that's it, or do you get residuals from any of that? How does that work these days?
Do you mean in Nashville or just across the music industry,
Yeah,
Andy?
both, either way. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just curious about the nuts and bolts of the business itself and how that segment of the business actually works.
Well, traditionally, let's start there because that it still exists to some extent. There's the writer's share. Well, let me start again. If you sign with a publisher, which I did many years ago, my first US deal was with a publisher called ATV, which is now Sony ATV.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the traditional split back in the day was 50% goes to the songwriter or songwriters, 50% to the publisher or publishers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you've got two writers on a song, you may have two publishers as well. So it would that would be a four-way split on
Right.
whatever the royalty stream was. And there is a royalty stream. Um, I did get paid up front, but it was recoupable against whatever money I made. And it wasn't very much.
Mm.
I mean, I think the first year I wrote for ATV, I got paid for the year maybe $3,500, 3,000 to $3,500. Even
Wow.
back in the late 70s, early 80s, that wasn't a lot of money.
Right.
And that first year that they paid me, let's say that 3,000 or 3,500, they got hit me with your best shot. I think two of three songs that got cut by Joe Cocker. I mean, I won't go on, but it was their
Right.
investment paid off. But out of my share of the royalties, I had to pay them back. So
Ah,
it was all
gotcha.
recoupable as well as any demo costs, if we went into the studio and demoed the songs. So that's how it worked back then. Now that still does exist um to a large extent, but also now you have things called buyouts where as you were alluding to, you can just sell everything to somebody. They just give you hopefully a reasonable amount of money, and especially if you've been successful. Um, and you get nothing. The back end all goes to them, and that happens in a lot of cases these days. So, um, you know, just to give you my personal opinion on that, I mean, in 1978 when I signed with ATV, September of 78, I had no idea if I would ever make the first dollar in the music business. So a lot of young people who are writing songs today and artists and are involved, when they do these buyout deals, you don't know what the market is going to say about your music going down the road. So
Hmm.
you're giving up your future in a way
Gotcha.
that I think you want to think twice about doing that.
Well, especially now when you're seeing some of these, major artists selling their catalogs, I know that it's not a total complete buyout, but there's nuances, there's limits to what the purchaser can do and all that kind of thing. But and I think that might inhibit somewhat the impact of AI down the road on those catalogs or the masters or whatever the case may be. But you know, following generations, I just really wonder what's going to happen within music when you have some big monolithic organization owning a massive classic catalog of some sort, and then they decide to bash that up against AI. Kids aren't even going to know what they're listening to anymore, and what's real. Or hey, here's the latest Elvis album in the year 2075, whatever. But it's those are the things that concern me. I just, as I've told other artists, I hope that AI leads to a better accounting and payment for everybody that are owed money from publishing, recordings, use of music, mechanicals, whatever. And, one can hope at least that happens for you guys. But, well, how long did it take you to put this EP together?
I probably did it over the course of about a year,
Hmm.
because I played most of the instruments myself, a lot of them in the room that you're seeing behind me right now.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it probably took me about a year off and on. I didn't mix them here. I finished them with a good friend and an amazing engineer here in Nashville by the name of Roger Moutinho, who's got his own studio, Haptown Studios, here in town. And he was great because he was one of the people who encouraged me to become active again as a songwriter, and did a beautiful job on mixing film school, and gave me feedback. He helped me. There's a few songs. There's a song called Waters Rise, and I came in with it, and he said, "Yeah, you're not done yet. The song's not right. You need something, here and here and there." And I went, "Okay." And I trusted him because he's worked with
Yeah.
people, Bruce Springsteen, and I mean, I won't even begin to give you the list of people he's worked with over the years. So yeah, I would get feedback, and I thought it was finished, and I'd go back and work it again, and I go, yeah, he's right. He's right. I needed to work some more on this one. So it was a good process, a good creative process. And he was very supportive. So I owe him
Did,
a real debt of gratitude.
did you feel like you've been taken to the woodshed when he got done?
He's such a sweet man. He's such a gentle, and sweet man, and such a good friend that um, no, I didn't feel that
Good.
I wasn't being punished. I was because again, he was so encouraging about me getting
Yeah.
back into writing. So it was all
Now
good.
I know Special Girl has been recorded by others, and but were there other songs written, were the other songs on this album written more recently, or did you reach back into a symbolically speaking, the filing cabinet and say, "Oh, I wrote this song 40 years ago, but I think it'd be great today." Anything like that?
Special Girl 2025 that's on there was the only song that I reached back into time. Um, all the other songs were written I mean, I might have had the idea floating around, as I said, and
Hmm.
I had that dry period of a number of years. So they may have been unfinished during that period of time.
Right.
Um, Come to This, which is a song that I think addresses the way a lot of us feel these days. Um, was an idea that I had, as well as Outbound Train, which is the second song on Film School. They were ideas that I kicking around, but I wasn't happy with them, so I put them aside. Again, as I mentioned, sometimes it just takes me. I've got to work on it, get away from it, and come back to it. So
Hmm.
none of the songs were finished though long before I started recording Film School. And We Win, which is the first single, um, that was pretty much entirely new, uh, and was in a way the song that broke the drought for me. It
Hmm.
was that was the idea that sparked me to actually do the rest of the CD, and that's, I guess, why I put it first on the CD and on the release, digital release, because I was it's a tough environment right now. It's the world's not an easy place for a lot of reasons. It's difficult to cope with a lot of things that are going on and process what's going on in the United States, but also around the world. And We Win was kind of a breakthrough for me, because
Hmm.
I felt that what that song is about was what I had to remember, so that I could, sort of process the world today and stay sane. Um, so that was a very important moment for me when somehow that idea crystallized and I started to work on that song.
I love that song. I know for me, I'm kind of the same way. And, I look at both sides here in the States. I look at both sides, both political parties. And I'm just thinking, you guys are screwing us all up, both sides. And what I've had to do, Eddie, was just, I, I watch a lot less news these days. And, I keep up with what's going on. It's not like I'm sticking my head in the sand, but I can't have the news on 24/7 like I used to. I am aware, I have opinions, but I also know there's a lot I don't know, and I don't want to lose friendships over it or anything like that. All I can do is what I can do in my little world and hope that has a good cascading positive effect in society somewhere. I keep my interviews positive. I don't go for ambush questions or negativity or anything like that. And I think that's just a very small thing to do in this big, ugly world we seem to find ourselves in these days. But
I couldn't agree with you more, Randy. And I don't want to lose friendships. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. There's people on both sides, or all the sides, and there's probably more than two. But yeah, I have friends and people that I work with that come from a very different perspective than I do, um, and then I have people that are so obsessed, like you said, you can't watch the news. I have friends that are so obsessed with what's going on these days that I think it's bad for them. It's bad for their mental health.
hmm.
I think, as you were alluding to. So yeah, so We Win was gave me a pathway to a place that I think is, I mean, it's political in the sense that um, you have to, if you feel there's too much hate in the world, then then it's okay to talk about the opposite of hate.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? In the sense that everything can be political. So
Yeah.
there is a lot of hate out there, uh,
Hmm.
many different ways, and I think We Win was I think We Win addresses that a little bit. I mean, I don't think it beats anybody over the head,
Yeah.
As you were saying with your interviews, you try to keep them positive. I think it's a positive way of dealing with a lot of the negativity that I think we're seeing and experiencing these days. So, and I think that's why it was important to me, not just as a song, but as a person, on
Mhm.
how do we get through this? Well, let's focus on what we win is about.
Yeah. No, and I think you succeeded in doing that. That was a very good job on that.
Well, thank you.
With the the album title being Film School, I felt like the songs had a lot of, if not cinematic themes, at least cinematic quality to where they could be used in film and TV and what have you. Was that your intent, or is that just how it happened to come out?
That's a good question. I think, the creative process led me there because I like, I like those interplays. I mean, if you go back to some of the songs that I've done, Hit Me With Your Best Shot is kind of a dialogue. I mean,
Hmm.
it's a monologue, but it's speaking to another person who thinks
Right.
that who has a very high opinion of themselves, apparently. And as Pat sang it and the way it was written is it's from the underdog's perspective. And again, it has, that attitude, that defiance, you know, in it. And then, don't shed a tear, which very lucky to have Paul Carrick record. Amazing, one of the great singers of my generation. Again, there's an attitude there, don't
Hmm.
shed a tear for me. My life won't end without you. So I like that. I like those songs that have an interplay between
Hmm.
characters. And I think that that's very true of film school. We win. It's, singing a song to somebody. Um, Waters Rise is almost like a letter sent to somebody who, in a world some years from now when things, are a little different. At least that's the way I conceived of it. I don't know if that comes across, but that's what I was going for. So yeah, there's a lot of interplay between characters,
Hmm.
and narrative and their stories. I mean, Outbound Train is kind of a story inspired by a TV program I loved when I was a kid called Twilight Zone.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, it definitely inspired me and inspired a lot of people. It's a great show. So, so yeah, I didn't set out necessarily, Randy, to do that, but once I had all the songs and I thought about what holds these together, that's sort of where my thinking process went.
Ah, I see. I'm going to take a sidestep here and just tell you I have a good friend in Nashville who has a Pat Benatar tribute band called Heartbreaker. And so, and they do a good job of Hit Me With Your Best Shot. So, anyway, his
Right.
name is David Lowery. He's involved in two or three bands, like pretty much every musician there is. But anyway, two-part question back to the album. Um, I always ask artists this when they have an album out. And when I asked Chris Staley this a few months ago, he goes, "Oh, you mean is there a gateway drug to the rest of the album?" I always called it a calling card. He called it a gateway drug. So the two-part question is, do you have a song on this EP that you would point to as a calling card or gateway drug to say, "Hey, if you like this, you're really going to love the rest of the album"? And secondly, is there a particular track on the album that you feel best represents where you are as an artist today?
Boy, those are really good questions. The songs that come to mind to answer that question, as much as We Win, as I said, was a turning point for me, and um, it's a very important song, and I'm just very uh, humbled and pleased with the reaction that it's been getting. Um, the two songs that I feel closest to in some ways are Outbound Train
Mm-hmm.
and the last song on the CD, Come to This.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe because they're more guitar based, and you might have noticed I kind of like to play guitar.
I like to
Um,
steal them. So,
You can borrow them anytime. Just- You're not that
I'm
far
just
away.
kidding. Uh,
We could.
yeah, I can't guarantee that I would return them, though, is the problem. So,
Well, there's a story about those guitars, but we'll get to that later, or not at all.
okay.
But um, yeah, so those two songs, "Outbound Train" and "Come to This" it was recorded with a live band, and that also may be part of why I feel um, more attached to it. My good friend and amazing guitar player George Marinelli played guitar. I played one of the two guitars, and he played it. Well, actually, I think there's three or four guitars because he did overdubs. But George played with Bonnie Raitt for 30 years, I believe it
Oh,
was,
wow. Yeah.
and he was in Bruce Hornsby and the Range before that. Lived here in Nashville for many years. He's now moved to the Northeast. But George Marinelli, an amazing guitar player and musician over and music creator, I should say. In fact, he's got his own albums out that are terrific. So should give them a listen. So yeah, I did it with a live band. Everybody played great, and so that's still a thrill to be in a room. I mean, these
Hmm.
days, it's so easy to do stuff on a computer, but at the end of the day, there's nothing like being in a room with real musicians
Yeah.
and hammering it out. And like I said, just loved what everybody played. So um, yeah, those two. But it's a little like asking, which is your favorite kid of your
Well,
children. So.
that's why I say calling card because I don't, I know that songwriters feel that way about their songs. Yeah.
Well, having said all that, I guess "We Win" is the calling card. It's the first single, and as I said, it's the one that broke the ice for me in terms of getting back into being a songwriter. So,
Well, you've written some phenomenal songs in your career, and many of them are very, very, very recognizable, and you've named a couple of them. How did writing for film school compare to writing those earlier hits of yours?
hmm, another really good question. Well, I mentioned earlier that after years of doing the Nashville writing routine, that I had lost my way, to writing the way I wrote. So actually, the answer is that I think I found my way mostly back to that way that I wrote, before. And so what was that? Well, I mean, I wrote "Hit Me" for myself. I mean, it wasn't written from a woman's perspective. It wasn't. I mean, I'm thrilled, of course, that Pat did it and turned it into made an incredible record, and it did what it did, of course. But um, it was just written, it was a little tongue-in-cheek attitude thing that I was playing in a band. I was doing bars every night. This is back in Toronto. Uh, had no success in the music industry. So I sort of think maybe the tough cookie was actually the music industry as much as anything at that point. But but the bottom line was that I always wrote the songs for myself, and I always felt that that was the best way to go about it because I don't I don't know what anybody else is looking for. I don't know what they
Hmm.
want out of a song. And again, in Nashville, just the opposite. You're always writing, your publisher gives you a list of the artists that are looking for songs. So, you pick one of those and you say, well, let's write a song for this artist. And what I discovered is invariably that information was all wrong, and that artist was looking for something completely different. So it was
Like,
kind of
thanks, right?
yeah, they may have 2 weeks ago, that's what they may have been looking for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that may not be what they're looking for today or tomorrow or whatever.
Gosh.
Um, so I came back to that. I just said, I want to write songs that I'm proud of, and and that's it. Those are the songs that I'm going to put on this. I'm going to work on, and I'm going to put on this record.
Is there a song on the record that you could imagine another artist covering, and who do you think would be a a dream fit for it? I mean, is there a song there that you say now that you've recorded it, you go, hey, so and so would I could see so and so doing this song or something?
Well, I've got to say that that's interesting you asked that because I visited with George. We were up in the Northeast for other reasons, and we made a side trip to visit my wife and I to visit George and his wife Kathy, and who were up in Connecticut. And I very bashfully, because I don't like, he's a friend, and I never like to anyone to feel like I'm exploiting my friendship with somebody in the business. But
Right.
I said, "Do you think Bonnie Raitt might like to sing We Win?" So
Whoa.
that
That would be good. That would be
would be
good.
good. I think she would do just a phenomenal job, and he very graciously let me get away with asking, but no commitments on his part. He did, by the way, say that he's always wanted her to do "Don't Shed a Tear," which was also I was very flattered by
Huh.
that. So,
Well, maybe she'll do both, and then you'd be really blown away.
well, from your lips to God's ear, as they say.
Just remember, I was the one that said it. So you give me a signed copy of your CD or something.
I will. You can pick a guitar. How's that?
Ooh, I love how you think. So, do you, looking back, which song surprised you the most and how it connected with audience? I'm talking about over your entire career. Is there a song that really surprised you of how it connected with audiences?
Another really good question. Yeah, Joe Cocker did three of my songs, and they did very well. That record did very well, and there was one in particular called "Two Wrongs Can Make a Right" that I had very low expectations for.
Hmm.
It's on his "Unchain My Heart" album, so that's one that I never thought we'd get a cut. I was shocked we got a cut on it, and then to get a cut on again somebody that I idolized growing up, just one of the giants, Joe Cocker.
Hmm.
So that was now that wasn't a single, and I don't know that it really answers your question because I don't know that it was that big. I mean, the album did well, but I don't know that that song was sort of drove it. Um, but even something like "Don't Shed a Tear" got such great response. I knew I liked it a lot, but I mean, that's a song that of all the songs I've written, including "Hit Me," which of course is, I get comments about that, and love it when people come up to me and say something about it. But the song that in a way I get the most comments about from folks and largely from other musicians and songwriters is "Don't Shed a Tear."
Ah, very cool.
And yeah, that I didn't expect.
I find that with artists and songwriters that in fact, I interviewed Colin Blunstone from the Zombies this morning. It was the second time talking with him, and he was sharing about a couple different songs that he just thought one was that he thought really wasn't all that great, and it turned out to be very good for them. And then another one he thought was going to be really good, and it didn't do anything. And it's funny how as the creator, I mean, I'm the same way with interviews and pieces I write. And there's times I think, yeah, nobody's going to be interested in this, and boom, there's a lot of interest, and then the exact opposite on others, and you just can't figure it out. And I'm sure from as a creator such as you, where your living is really made from that kind of stuff, it can be kind of frustrating, I would imagine, as well as pleasantly, giving you pleasant surprises along that way. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, I think it is totally. I mean, there are songs that are some of my favorite songs I've ever written other than my wife, who's forced to listen to what I do because she's in the same house. Um, although she leaves on occasion when I'm working on a song, repeating it too many times, um, which I do. Uh, there are songs that I just think that they're the best songs that I've ever written, and nothing. No one seems to show any interest in them. What I think I'm going to start to do, though, on future projects is I think I may even put out the demos. The technology now has gotten so good, the stuff that's technology that's available to all of us. This is the flip side of what you were saying about generative AI, which I totally agree with, which is very problematic. But on the other hand, the technology to fix things that you may have recorded and bring them back so that they're better quality and play around with them. I mean, I just have cassette versions of demos that I did in the early 1970s, maybe even earlier 1960s. Um, and now you can transform them, fix them
Hmm.
up, and put them out, thanks to, as I said, new technologies that have come along. So I think, so I guess what I'm saying is that the story's not over yet. Maybe one of those songs that no one's heard except my wife will get out there and people will like it. I hope so.
She's probably saying, get it out there already, get it out of your system, right?
Yes. And then we'll know one way or the other whether, it's
There
going to
you
do
go.
anything in the world. Yeah.
You've worked with so many great artists. Is there like one collaboration or moment that still makes you pinch yourself when you think about it?
Well, yeah, geez. The first name that comes to mind is J.D. Souther. We wrote in LA years ago. Was such a huge, huge fan of his writing. I mean, a guy who wrote, with for the Eagles and
Hmm.
Linda Ronstadt. I mean, we could go on and on about the folks that recorded JD's songs. Just an incredible, incredible songwriter. So that was really an honor to be able to write a song with
Hmm.
him. We wrote a song which, by the way, Lawrence Gowan recorded, called "When There's Time for Love." So
Hmm.
the three of us are on that one. JD and I worked on it, and we brought Larry in later, and we finished it with him. And it did quite well in Canada. I don't think it was ever released in the States, but like all these things, you can find it online now. When There's Time for Love. Um, and writing with Paul. I mean, after Don't Shed a Tear, Paul and I, they flew me over to England, where Paul lives, and he had a little studio in his adjacent to his house, and we wrote a song called "I Live by the Groove." And I was again just in awe, a massive fan of Paul Carrick. Great voice, incredible musician, great keyboard player. I mean, he's just effortless. Everything he does is amazing and sounds totally effortless. So I was that's another high point. Those two guys. And then again, Lawrence Gowan, I know now Larry's been with Styx for quite a few years now. It must be 30 years, close to 30 years, if not 30. Amazing, amazing keyboard player, great
Yeah.
singer, great songwriter. So I think there's a lot of, I hope I probably left somebody out I should be talking about, but those three were these are outstandingly talented people, and I'm very fortunate to have worked with them.
I got a Larry Gowan story to tell you. I've interviewed him twice, I guess, two or three times. And I don't know. I mean, I prepare for my interviews, but I've been known to ask one that's not on my list of questions, and I've done it on this call, in fact. But talking with him, I forget where they were at, but he was in his hotel room, and I don't know what possessed me to ask him, but I asked him about how he felt about South Park doing "Sail Away," and I thought that was the second I asked that, I thought, Randy, you could be treading on thin ice here, and he could hang up on you because I didn't know how he felt about it. And he said something to the effect of, after every concert, I get on the tour bus and I listen to South Park doing "Sail Away." I don't know if he was being serious or not. And I was hoping the publicist wouldn't get mad at me and all this stuff. And he said a couple other things about it. Next thing I know, after the interview posted, I track if there's anything being said about things out on social media, and you can, Google can let you know if people are, you know, tracking what you're doing, all that. And there were two publications, maybe three, that took that. And um, Ultimate Classic Rock was one of them. And all of a sudden, I mean, things started blowing up on the interview. And I mean, that thing just went around the world like boom, and I was very happy with that just, because traffic is how I make money. And, but I was thought, boy, I'm glad A, that I asked that question, and B, that it turned out so well and got a lot of attention. And it drove other articles and that kind of thing. But I just loved how he answered the question. It was great. It really was.
He's a real gentleman, Mr.
He
Gowan.
really
He's
is.
a real gentleman. I call him Lord Larry. So just I don't know why, but we spent a lot of time together, and it was like, as I said, I'm very, very lucky guy to have gotten to know him and written a bunch of songs with him.
He's sitting on an album right now. And did you work with him on that one, or?
No, since I moved to Nashville, uh, we haven't written. We've talked about it, but he's on the road. I mean, I don't know how he does it. He's one of those people who, he's on the road a big chunk of the year, either
Hmm.
on his own projects or with Styx. So we haven't been able to schedule anything. But I think we'll write again one of these fine days.
That'd
I,
be
I hope
great.
so. I hope so.
Yeah. He says he's not releasing this new album because with what it would take to support it, to get out and focus on it. He goes, and this was just before Styx's latest album dropped. And so he said, man, it's pretty, in my words, not his, Styx all the way. So, don't know when he's going to release that one, but it sounds like it'd be a goodie to listen to.
Hmm.
The the music industry has changed dramatically since you first, had your first hits and stuff. What excites you about the current landscape, and what concerns you?
I'm really glad you asked that question. What I'm excited about, let me start there, is that there are artists, I think of Chapel Roan, who is writing a thing, the tracks are good songs. They're not just tracks. They're not just something that's got a groove with this kind of mediocre melody and not such great lyrics. She writes and performs real songs in my, at least what I call real songs. They have structure. The lyrics are meaningful, either on a personal level or, I mean, Pink Pony Club. Again, I think it can also be seen as having a political dimension to it. I mean, I don't know
Hmm.
that that's first and foremost, but it's subtext, right? I mean, the whole leaving Tennessee, coming to, the West Coast and finding herself and her community out there, of, given her particular, sexual orientation.
Hmm.
So I'm just really excited about that. I'm excited that there are people out there doing really, really well writing and performing real, what I could consider real songs, that they're actually about something. They're about, contemporary issues. Um, because I grew up in a household, my parents would listen to Woody Guthrie, would listen to Pete Seeger, would listen to, music was that had a wider meaning. I mean, people think "This Land Is Your Land" is a song for kids to sing around a campfire at summer camp. But "This Land Is Your Land, This Land Is My Land" was really about a statement that America doesn't belong only to the rich and powerful.
Right.
It belongs to all of us.
Hmm.
So, you know what I mean? It exists on these multiple levels. Yes, it's a great song to sit around the campfire and sing, but it also really had a very important message that, is as appropriate and relevant today, I think, as it was in 1940, I believe it is when he wrote it. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited that there are people out there who are speaking to issues, that songs have substance, that they have meaning. And I think that's also, I like to think that's true of film school as well. I think I wanted very much to write songs that were relevant to the world the way it is today. Not nostalgic, not harken back. Well, they do harken back in a way, but are still very much relevant today. So I'm excited about that. Um, on the negative side, I think you wanted me to talk about both. Yeah, Gen AI is very, very concerning. The fact that all of our music, all the music in the world, the entire history of music in the world, and other books and movies and all these things are being ingested into this new technology that no one seems to quite understand or control. Um, but the profits again are going to some already very, very rich and powerful, companies, corporations. And, I understand they're about the bottom line, they're about their shareholders, but why not, give something back? Why not, why aren't all of us whose work has been ingested into Gen AI? Why, why shouldn't we share? And, if that's training your technology, why shouldn't we share in some way with in the wealth that it generates? So, um, yeah, I'm troubled by the fact that that they're paying nothing. They're resisting as hard as they can with paying people like me and paying the artists, paying the other rights holders. Um, so I hope that changes. I hope that they see the light, so to speak, and that they do reach agreements and do honor copyright and do pay creative people for using our work to train their technologies.
Well, I think certainly, as I alluded to earlier when we first touched on I mean, I'm impressed with it. I use it to help me with my productivity, but not with my not. I mean, I edit my own videos, things of that nature. But as far as research, when I'm writing articles, I use it to kind of critique me, so to speak. But it
Mhm.
doesn't, write my stuff for me. It's because I'm mostly interview transcription and that kind of thing. But that all said, I'd like to think that AI, just to your point, let's say some corporate monolith goes and takes one of your songs, they throw it into AI and into Blender, there's this thread of it. I think that they could parse royalties down to even what percentage of that song was in there. And even if it's a fraction of a cent, extrapolated out that in the aggregate of things, that could be meaningful to you. And darn well they can do that. I mean, same way with even just, streaming, they could track better and pay better to the artists and those who own the rights, the various rights. And I know that can get a little complicated there, but so I'm hoping that that's one thing that benefits. I don't hold much hope on it because that would require corporate America to be clean and honest, and you just like our government, neither of those things are going to happen. But like your opinion on something, though, when McCartney came out with that AI generated Beatles song,
Mm.
and what did you think about that? Did you like it? Did it scare you as far as what it might portray as far as coming into the future? Overall, what did you think of it?
Let me just say before I answer that very quickly, I'm not against artificial intelligence, and I know it has many uses, and that, it may. I'm not against it. I'm just saying if there's, if you're using our work to make money, we should get some kind of a share. So it's not. I'm not against technology. Quite the opposite. And I understand your points about using it as a productivity tool, and there's lots of valid reasons ways we can use artificial intelligence. When it comes to that Beatles song, I was disturbed by it on multiple levels, and I mean, Paul McCartney, Sir Paul is one of the greats. and a huge Beatle fan, really an incomparable group of human beings that did such an amazing music. And I still listen to it today, and many of us do. Excuse me. Um, but I thought it was ethically questionable. I heard an interview with Sir Paul where he said, "Well, I know John would be okay with this." Well, he knew John a lot better than I did, but I still think that that's presumptuous to say that. And
Mhm.
I didn't think it was their best work.
Yeah.
Um, so I didn't really understand, if it was like another day in the life, or in my life, or if it was some masterpiece, but just to put out something that was frankly half baked. Yeah, you could use, AI, generative AI to finish it, but yeah, I thought, I get that we all have a terrible yearning, or not all of us, but many of us have a real yearning to hear more Beatles music because it was that good. But you know, I think that wasn't a great idea.
I think they did it because they could, and to be one of the first major artists to do it probably is something of a, gives them bragging rights on something. But I agree with you. It was, I kind of listened to it and went, and I'm a Beatles fan too, but yeah, I think I could boil my whole thing about AI in the arts in this way. I'm concerned about it, and some of it I understand why I'm concerned about it, but other parts it's just like there's just my gut telling me that this could be a bit scary. And all you have to do is look at some of the video that people are generating. I mean, oh my gosh, and pictures. I mean, I saw a thing a couple weeks ago showing Neil Diamond in a wheelchair on a stage where Elton John and Celine Dion were supposedly singing one of his songs. It never happened, but it sure looked like it did. And I can spot fakes pretty good. But so those kinds of things, right, where it can create bad situations for people or just, disingenuousness in many forms and levels. I really wish that this stuff could have been tried in a laboratory environment to a lot greater extent and maybe it has and they know what the phases are coming up. I don't know. But as an old man like myself, I'm just like, I'm concerned, Can't articulate all the reasons why, but I am, you know.
Well, I think it's justified, Randy. I think there's a lot of concerns, and many of the people who developed generative AI and AI overall, um, share your concerns. I mean, the very people who started this are now looking at it and going, "What have we done?" To some
Yeah.
extent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a concern, and and again, I'll make a statement about, there are a handful of people involved with technology who are the richest people in the history of the world. And I guess I just come from a place where I think it would be, spreading the wealth a little bit. I mean, I'm uncomfortable with that. I'm uncomfortable with the split between the poor and the rich, and then the insanely, well, I'm sure they wouldn't say that, but wealth at that level, it just seems, it's obscene to me. And this is going to just not going to make it better. It's going to make it worse
Yeah.
because it's the same group of people that are involved. So again, I support technology. I love it. There's great uses for it. I'm not anti-technology, but um, like I said, I think I come from a place where um, greed. There's just a lot of greed out there that's I think, out of control.
Yep. Totally agree. So, final question for you: what's on your radar for the rest of the year and going into next year?
Very good question. I'm excited about the fact that I'm working on new songs. So, you just never stops. It's a 24/7 gig.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've got new ideas that I'm working on and I'm excited about. So that's first and foremost. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. Um, yeah, so I'm excited about the new songs I'm working on, and I'm going to for the first time to South Africa in a couple of
Oh,
weeks
wow.
for a copyright conference where songwriters and composers from all over the world get together to talk about how we can make the world a better place for creative people and for making music. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure generative AI will be part of the conversation. I mean, you can't get away from it these days. So I'm
Right.
excited about that. And then my wife and I are going to do a little safariing
Oh, fun.
afterwards. Yeah. But I am first and foremost with the release of film school. I'm just very excited that this that music is back in my life in the way that it was for so many years before. So
Yeah.
because when the safari's over, I'll be back in this my little room here, banging my head against the brick wall trying to write another song. That's what I
Well,
do, and I
yeah.
love doing it.
Well, when you have something else coming out, please let me know. We'll set one of these up. My door is always open to you. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. It was informative on so many levels. And, like I said, if you ever feel the need or burden to get rid of any of your guitars, I don't play. I just love looking at them, so.
Oh, did you think I play? Oh, it's just
Yeah, I used to carry mine to high school when I was in high school in Phoenix, and people thought I actually played. I knew a few chords, but nah, I couldn't get out of the beginner's rut, So,
well, a few chords is really all you know. I mean, a lot of the best songs ever written were written, as I'm sure you know, with three or four very
yeah,
basic chords. So,
especially in the blues.
well, like I said, you want to borrow one or two, please let me know.
I just love looking at them, man. It really does. I just love the shape. If I was a billionaire and had the money to pay these ungodly prices for these vintage guitars that they're doing and compete with like Joe Bonamassa and buying them, I'd feel guilty owning it because that's all I'm going to do is look at it. I can't really play the darn things, and so I'd just probably turn around and give it to somebody I thought was deserving and could make it sound beautiful. But
I'll let you in a little secret. Most of those guitars were not expensive. They're and some of them I bought before guitars became the collectible,
mm.
the valuable collectible items that they are today. So I know it looks, I know it looks good, but it's not. It may be a little less impressive if you do.
All I know is when I lived in Dallas before I moved here, I would go to the Dallas International Guitar Festival. And one year, I think it was a year after Clapton sold all of his guitars. They had those guitars that sold on display. They were in plexiglass cases, and you could walk right up to them. You just couldn't touch them, right? And they had on there which guitar it was, what songs he recorded or wrote on that guitar, and how much it auctioned off for. Eddie, I mean, I'm sitting there staring at these guitars, and they're half $1 million because they were Clapton's, and he wrote cocaine on it or whatever. And I was like, wow, who has this kind of money? I mean, it just blew my mind. Then there was another display at the other end of the hall where they were auctioning off something that Keith Richards had, and on and on and on. But just the antiquity and the stories behind the song, I mean, behind the guitars, I'm as much interested in that as the guitar itself, just the symbolism of it all and that kind of thing.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you who's not buying those guitars. Musicians.
Because they can't
It's
afford it.
no, the musicians. That's the irony is all they're staying behind a glass case in somebody's,
Yeah.
somebody's man cave, maybe, who's got some money.
Some billionaire.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I do know a few musicians, and unless they happen to be 12 years old and bought something in 1962, and there are guys like that, but they didn't.
Yeah.
They paid maybe couple of $100 for these guitars that are now worth tens of thousands of dollars. So, but they're not buying any of those guitars these days. That's for sure.
Except Joe Bonamassa. He's
Well, there are exceptions to every rule, I suppose. Yes.
Well, Eddie, this was a lot of fun, man. Please, I mean it too. If you ever have something coming up, please let me know through whoever you're working with, or contact me directly, and my door is open to you. We'll chat about what you got going on, and let others know about it.
Randy, I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me on the show. I really enjoyed it too. And thank you
Pleasure's all
for,
mine.
all right.
Oh, and if you're in the Smokies, give me a shout and we'll meet up for coffee or something.
You got a deal. We're not that far
Right.
away, so
That's
maybe
right.
I'll bring a guitar with me too.
I'll at least have my picture taken with it, right? So,
Okay.
all right. Take care.
You too, Randy. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. This has been another fun-filled episode of Boomerocity with your host and producer, Randy Patterson. The theme song is Roll the Dice and is recorded and used by permission from Quentin Hope. Quentin is spelled Quinten, and Hope is Hope. And you can find out more about Quentin at quentinhope.com. Post-production is done by Cardinal Sins Productions. The Boomerocity name, logo, and content is copyright protected. Segments may only be used with written permission by Boomerocity and/or its assignees. Inquiries should be directed to input@boomerocity.com. Copyright 2025.